Hello, I'm John Myler, student at National University completing my master's degree in screenwriting. This video clip is a presentation about my screenplay, The Book of Wars, Legend of the Prophetess. It's about the Old Testament judge and prophetess, Deborah. The Bible tells us about an ancient lost book known as the Book of Wars, from which this story gets its name. According to the Bible, around 1250 BC, in a land where women were treated as property, Deborah arose out of complete obscurity to the position of a judge who held court. The only explanation that we are given as to how this came about is that she was known as a prophetess. Deborah also had a strong sense of justice. She was bold to the point of giving orders to General Barak, Israel's leading military commander. She demanded that Israel go to war against a tyrannical empire in the north against impossible odds. What's more unusual than her bold demand is the fact that General Barak refused to go to the battle unless she went with him. He had to have incredible confidence in her to ask her to go to the battlefield because things didn't go well for women when they lost battles. Women were usually taken as the spoils of war. Not only did Deborah agree to go to the battlefield without hesitation, she then declares to Barak, the glory of this battle goes to a woman. Now what kind of woman talks like that? The glory of battle. I think this gives us a clue about her character. Only warriors would say something like that. Now the Bible doesn't say that Deborah knew how to fight, but her words, they sure indicate to me that she was a warrior. Almost everyone's heard about Joan of Arc. How many adaptations have been made about Joan of Arc? But here we have this mysterious Deborah. She was a prophetess. She was a judge. She led her nation into battle against impossible odds. And not only that, she ruled her nation as a judge for 40 years. There's a lot to tell about Deborah's story. Now I have two objectives that I want to accomplish with this story about the prophetess Deborah. The first objective is, I want to explore the two sides of Deborah's character. Deborah was a warrior. Most warriors are fueled with intense passion, but they don't get that way overnight. In this story, Deborah's character endures very painful experiences that put a fire in her spirit. The story begins with Deborah and her father, Haran, when they are attacked by a group of bandits while traveling to another town. During the attack, they are rescued by a stranger named Adoniah. Adoniah comes from the land of Phoenicia, and he is highly skilled in martial arts. Deborah, being the tomboy that she is, demands that Adoniah teach her how to fight. She resents the fact that her father almost got killed in the attack, and she felt powerless to do anything about it. With her father's consent, Adoniah agrees to train Deborah along with the other men in her village, which doesn't go over well with Deborah's mother. But Deborah continues nonetheless. Then one day, Deborah's father introduces Barak, the son of Israel's leading military commander, General Abinoam. There's an immediate chemistry between them until Barak finds out that he will be training with Deborah. He just can't take the idea of a woman going into battle seriously. This frustrates Deborah because she's serious about her training. She wants to be treated as an equal. As I was thinking about Deborah's character as a warrior, I wanted to draw inspiration from female warriors of today, modern day warriors. Well, I found inspiration in modern day Israel. It just so turns out that one of the leading Krav Maga instructors in the world is in Israel, and her name is Avavit Cohen. Here's a little video clip of Avavit.
Avavit Cohen is the top-ranked woman in the world in Krav Maga. She represents the civilian branch of the fighting style, founded by the legendary Heinz.
Okay, I move with my shoulders. Okay, I want to work with you on the elbows. If you are close to me, I give you that. Oh, I give you that. Oh, okay.
It's good. She's crazy, man. Like, I'm used to instructors, like, they'll demonstrate a move, but I'm not used to them, like, just coming up and elbowing you in the face. It's shocking. Like, she hit me with the first one that hit me, I wasn't ready for it at all.
When somebody attacks you and hug you in the face, You must hit him in a vulnerable point, like eyes, like nose, like knee to the...
Ava makes it look easy, but I'm pretty sure her students are terrified of her.
Stop! And I don't think about prophecy. If you can use something that is in the ground, this is my, like a gun, like a stick. I win them. Okay? Whatever you can. Okay? No mercy. No rules in prophecy.
Ava, I really have no doubt that she's partially insane. She's not a stable human being.
Here in this place, in the center of Hadera, is the bus stop. I work where is the tube down here side with the bus here. So
Really?
yeah.
And you were here?
Yeah, I was here and the bus is exploded, all the blood and all the stuff. So in this area, you need to know how to use the Krav Maga.
Crazy. It's my third day with Ava, and I think I'm beginning to understand what makes her tick.
Just picturing Ava Kohen out on the battlefield, tearing it up, gave me a real sense of Deborah's character. But now all she needed was a signature weapon. You got guys like Crocodile Dundee with his knife. You got Indiana Jones with his whip. Jedi Knights had their lightsabers. What was Deborah's weapon? According to the Bible, the Israelis were short on weapons. I thought it was interesting that Ava said part of Krav Maga is to use whatever you can find. This is exactly what they did in Deborah's time also. One thing they had plenty of was tents. The Bible even says that tent pegs were used as weapons. Aside from Ava V's Krav Maga, I also came across some video clips of another guy, Dr. Hanover. He did something very unusual with a knife.
Why this way? I can introduce it to himself.
Just so you know, this thing is so sharp, and you see it get wielded around, and they train with these. These aren't rubber knives, these aren't plastic knives. This thing is as sharp of a knife as it comes.
Seeing Dr. Hanover swinging the knife around on a rope, it occurred to me. Tent pegs were already tied to ropes. That's a perfect weapon. It could be like a whip, and also like a deadly spike flying through the air at the same time. So this is Deborah's signature weapon, a tent peg tied to a rope, which she uses to eventually earn Barak's respect when she nearly castrates him in a sparring match. Shortly following this event, Barak's father sends a messenger to call him back up north to teach his men all that he has learned from Adonai. It's at this point that Deborah and Barak realize that they have feelings for each other. Unfortunately, circumstances tear them apart. When Barak leaves, the other warriors in Deborah's village also leave. Villages up north are constantly harassed by Canaanite soldiers, and they need all the help they can get. Now, Deborah's main flaw is she acts out of compulsion without thinking of the consequences. When Barak leaves, she throws an absolute fit with her parents, demanding that she leave with him, but her father forbids it. She's angry at everyone, and even wrestles with her pet goat. A few days later, Canaanite soldiers from the north ride far south into Deborah's hometown of Ramah and bully the villagers, kicking in doors and confiscating weapons. After they leave Deborah's house, they kill her pet goat. This is more than Deborah can bear. Without hesitation, she lashes out. What starts as a skirmish ends in the deaths of 3 Canaanite soldiers. One escapes, reports the news. This event sets in motion a chain of events that eventually results in the deaths of many innocent people. The Israeli village of Shiloh is home to the Hebrew priesthood, where they sacrifice burnt offerings to God on an altar in their tabernacle. Inside the tabernacle is a place called the Tent of Meeting, where the mysterious artifact known as the Ark of the Covenant is protected. Each year the Israelites hold a harvest festival, and Barak sends word to Deborah that he will be there in Shiloh with some men to guard the ark. Deborah can't wait to see Barak again. She enlists the help of her friend Yael to prepare for the occasion. She borrows a dress and some jewelry given to Yael by a suitor. Deborah meets Barak in Shiloh, but the joy of their visit is short-lived. Sisera, the tyrannical Canaanite general, invades the village of Shiloh with a team of armed chariots, killing people, slashing, and burning everything in sight. His primary objective is to capture the Ark of the Covenant. Deborah and Barak fight valiantly, but Sisera, he's not your average soldier. Sisera is an unnatural incarnation a demon-spawned monstrosity standing over 9 feet tall. He has 6 fingers on each hand, and he wields a 7-foot-long sword which he uses to impale Deborah. Here's where Deborah's life is radically altered. With her dying breaths, she crawls through all the mayhem of the battle, reaches the tabernacle, and crawls toward the tent of meeting, and dies reaching toward that tent. Later that night, a mysterious glowing entity wearing full plate armor and a sword on his side exits the tent of meeting. He kneels down beside Deborah and blows his breath into her face, resurrecting her from the dead. Before she is fully conscious, this mysterious being leaves her and returns to the tent of meeting. The next day, Deborah wakes up covered in blood, but she has no wounds and only a vague recollection of the night before. Barak can't believe it. He is totally amazed, thinking he's dreaming, because he saw her with his own eyes impaled by Sisera's sword. They have no explanation for this miracle. It's a painful time in everyone's lives. Deborah's mother was killed in the attack. They hold a funeral for her after they return home. Later, Adoniah presents a gift to Haran. It's a jewel-encrusted dagger that was owned by Sisera, recovered from the battle. When Deborah touches this dagger, she is struck with a vision, seeing the attack at Shiloh as if she were viewing it from Sisera's perspective. This vision is so overwhelming to Deborah that she's convinced it must have something to do with the miraculous healing that she received in the Tabernacle. Her father Haran insists that they return to Shiloh and ask the high priest to inquire of the Lord, what's the meaning of this miracle and strange vision? When they speak with Elias, he fetches an old gnarled staff from the tent of meeting, and he asks Deborah to touch it. Deborah is immediately blasted into another vision. This time it's Moses parting the Red Sea. When Deborah explains to the high priest what happened, he tells her that that was Moses' staff. He then shouts to everyone in the temple that the Lord has spoken, a prophetess of Israel is among them. Deborah is overwhelmed. She has no idea what all this means, but the people are ecstatic, and they organize a grand ceremony. She is blessed by the priests in the tabernacle. Immediately after this event, the high priest is told of a family whose daughter is missing. He suspects she was kidnapped by the Canaanite soldiers. The last anyone saw her, she was fetching water, but when they searched for her, all they found was a piece of broken pottery. When Deborah touches the piece of broken pottery, she has a vision. The girl was taken hostage to a wretched Canaanite temple of Baal. She provides the information that they need to rescue this girl. By the time Deborah returns home, word has spread all throughout Israel that she is a prophetess. People come from miles around to see her and hear her story. And the visions, they continue, and they grow more powerful. In time, she has no need to touch anything. As people speak to her, the visions come. Now, before all this happened, Deborah complained endlessly with her parents when they made her study the Hebrew books of the law. She was a reluctant pupil, wanting a life of adventure and having a heart for the battlefield. Yet here she was, stuck at home, with people coming to her and seeking her advice to settle disputes. Now, the fact that Deborah was a prophetess created a natural transition to her role as a judge. Consider the fact that the Bible speaks of Old Testament prophets that knew about people's secret sins. Deborah could probably read people like books. Imagine a judge who knew all your secret sins. Anyone who would refuse to stand before such a judge concerning a crime would automatically be suspect. There would be no need for lawyers in Deborah's court. Now, these interesting facets about Deborah's character are the main part of this story. But my second objective for this story is to bring to light some very mysterious things in the Old Testament that I've already touched upon. For example, the Nephilim, otherwise known as giants, are the otherworldly offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men, first mentioned in the book of Genesis, chapter 6. These beings were encountered by the Israelites all throughout the Old Testament, and they were not uncommon in Deborah's time. The purpose of this story, the main antagonist Sisera and his equally large brother Lami are demon-spawned remnants of a race of giants known as the Anakim. Sisera enlists the help of a necromancer to summon his demonic ancestors from the grave. His ultimate objective is to reclaim the glory of his race before the flood of Noah. Sisera sits enthroned in the temple of Baal, claiming to be a god, as they perform rituals of demonic possession to imbue the elite Canaanite guards with supernatural strength and power. And then there's the Ark of the Covenant. We saw this mysterious artifact in the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark. In that movie we saw what the Ark might do if an evil army tried to use it, but what if God's people used it? The Israelites did, in fact, carry the Ark into battle with them. On top of the Ark was something called a mercy seat, which you could say was a representation of God's throne on earth. It could be that God's power channeled through the Ark to give his people an incredible fighting ability. And finally, the Bible speaks of a mysterious entity who identified himself as the captain of the host of the Lord. He declared that the ground on which he stood was holy. And this is something that only God does. Yet this being held a sword in his hand. In this story, I want people to see God as a warrior, fighting for justice for his people as he revealed himself in the Old Testament. Following the attack on Shiloh, Sisera's necromancer is made aware of Deborah's presence, that she is imbued with supernatural power. He warns Sisera that she is a threat that he should not ignore. Sisera dispatches his brother, Lami, to lead a team of chariots to Ramah and burn it to the ground. He orders him to kill every man, woman, and child. This attack, however, does not go according to Sisera's plan. Using her gift of prophecy, Deborah returns to her role as a warrior and prepares her village for battle. She personally kills Lami, impaling him the same way Sisera impaled her. There's no turning back now. Deborah sends for Barak to make an appeal to him to gather all of his forces together at Mount Tabor to strike against Sisera and end this threat from the north once and for all. At first Barak is resistant because the odds are suicidal, but Deborah eventually wins him over. Israel unites under Deborah, preparing for battle using scraps of weapons and farm tools, but still ready to confront the Canaanite threat 4 times larger than they are. Sisera's forces also prepare, an awe-inspiring military machine of 40,000 well-armed troops with 900 chariots and all manner of advanced weaponry. And if this weren't enough, Sisera enters a cavernous lair beneath his temple where the veil of the underworld is thinned. He ventures through the underground ruins of an ancient Anakim city now populated with the lost souls of his ancestors. In the depths of these ruins is a deep pit where Sisera calls upon the most powerful dark force in his arsenal, his grandfather, the demon prince Abaddon. But while Sisera crosses the boundaries of the underworld to call upon his grandfather's name, the high priest Elias declares that he will not sit idle while Israel goes to battle. Against the wishes of his entire priesthood, Elias demands to take the ark to the battlefield, as in the days of old after Moses crossed the Red Sea. On Mount Tabor overlooking the valley of Megiddo, Elias calls upon the God of Israel to deliver them. As the epic battle of good and evil commences on earth, otherworldly powers are summoned to the battlefield as well by Sisera's necromancer, hoping to call down fire from the sky and consume the Israelites. But his nefarious plans are immediately interrupted by the mysterious entity. With a wave of his arm, the necromancer is thrown off the balcony of the temple to his death, and the entire temple collapses in a heap of rubble beneath the feet of the mysterious entity as he walks across the sky. The entity raises his hand toward Mount Tabor and points at the Ark of the Covenant, which is struck by a bolt of lightning. A blast of power radiates from the Ark into the Israeli army, engulfing them in supernatural power. At the same time, a torrent of rain gushes down on top of them as they fight with superhuman strength and dexterity to match the demon-possessed warriors of Sisera's army. I hope you've enjoyed this screenplay, and I hope even more that you, or perhaps someone you know, will be willing to read this screenplay. I really would love to see this developed into a movie so that we could see this prophetess and judge from the Old Testament brought to life in this modern age and never be forgotten. Thank you very much for your time.